Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dante Elephante podcast. I don't know what episode this is, what number, I guess, but this is with Chicano Culture SB. My buddy Michael Montenegro, I've known him since, I've known him since junior high, and he is an archivalist of Chicano culture in Santa Barbara, and it was really cool to talk to him. This podcast happened a few months ago. Things have been crazy. I guess I got a lot of updates. I guess every time I come on here, I say things have been crazy, and they have been crazy, but they're slowing down now, which is very good. Yeah, so I guess there's a few updates I need to say. One big one is I no longer work at Seymour Duncan, which is a big transition for me. I've been working there for 2 years. I've kind of mentioned it on the podcast a little bit. Seymour Duncan makes, guitar pickups. It was fun working there, and it's crazy that I don't work there anymore. And it's I'm working somewhere else now that will remain a secret. I don't know. I feel like this next job I'm at, I don't need to be as like front facing as like a voice for a company as much as just like helping out, doing the work. But I will say I did get to grab a few things before I left Seymour Duncan. I got me the new Corey Wongs. Now I just need to buy a Strat. Now that's like my whole thing. Now it's like I'm looking for a Strat. If anyone has a connection at Fender, hit me up. Or if you have a Strat that you're looking to sell, hit me up. I am very down, man. I'm in the market for a Strat. It doesn't matter. And it does matter a little bit. I'm looking for something specific, but I'm also down if something cool comes along. I'm looking for like a white Olympic white Strat with a rosewood fretboard, and I'll pop in those Corey Wongs. I do love those Corey Wong pickups. Like they do sound really great. I played them a bunch in his signature Fender, but yeah, that's my next project, and I'm moving into my Strat era. It's not your daddy's tone. It's not your daddy's guitar. It's a Strat. Yeah. So yeah, things have been good though, man. Like I was working this other job and doing Seymour Duncan, so I was doing like 2 jobs at once, and it was just really stressful, and I was trying to find time to like do everything, and then NAMM hit. In April, I went to NAMM, and that was insane, and it just pushed all my work back a week, and I was just like, so I just told my other job, I was like, listen, we gotta make a decision here. I can't keep doing 2 jobs. I think it's killing me. It was not a joy to be around. Doing 2 jobs. I mentioned this on the last podcast. I was able to edit and release. Dante Elephante did a live album. I kind of started to promote it and then didn't promote it on the podcast very much. But yeah, we did a live album, and we did it with the original members of Dante Elephante and the current members of Dante Elephante. And that's all being mixed and edited right now as we speak. And I'm very excited for everyone to like see that come to life. I think it sounds so good so far from what I've heard. And from what I've seen, it looks really cool too. So it's gonna be fun, and then we'll eventually do a record, and you can buy the live album, and you'll be able to watch it on YouTube, and it's just something to hold people off until the new music comes. And that is another thing I want to talk about is new music. It is coming. I am working really hard on demos right now and kind of getting the process rolling of figuring out what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I finished 1 demo the other day in studio, and then we played 3 new songs for the live recording. So I'm just going to mix those 3 new songs and see how that goes. And then we'll take it from there. I don't know what happens after that, but we're getting close. We're moving on. We're getting close. Yeah, so just those big life updates for me, man. Starting a new job, quitting my old job, live album was huge. A big hurdle for me doing these podcasts has been the editing, and I think I've talked about that a little bit on here. But you'll notice, maybe you won't notice, but this episode was edited with AI, almost completely with AI. The 2 camera switching was all done, not by me, which would have taken me like 8 hours in the past. But I'm using this thing called Autopod. Not a sponsor. None of this is sponsored, but Autopod, check it out. If you have a podcast and you're listening and you do multiple camera work, it's separated camera 1 and camera 2 based on, encodes the audio and then cuts it up just using, voice recognition technology. And it did it in 30 seconds. I couldn't even film it quick enough. I have a recording on my phone of how fast it did, and I'll pop it into this video. But yeah, it's insane how fast it worked and how quick it worked and how accurate it is. And so, yeah, that's great. Shout out to Autopod, man. That just saved me a lot of time. And especially as I start ramping up this podcast more this year and I got a lot of episodes coming up, man. I think I have like 11 episodes recorded and banked. Jenny and I went to Tree Fort and we did a bunch of interviews in Tree Fort. Michael Ralt, Joe Hurtler. There's so many people I talked to now. And that was so long ago now because it's Memorial Day. It's May 29th. But we did so many interviews in May, and then I did a few in Santa Barbara. And this is one of the ones I did in Santa Barbara before a Tree Fort. So it's been a little while, but I'm excited that these are finally coming out. And so, yeah, those are kind of my big life updates. Dante Elephante is on the road. We are playing at the Belasco Theater with Archer O and Shirley Tempo. What day is that show? We're playing Below at the Belasco, 7 p.m., June 24th, with Makeout Reef, Archer O, and Shirley Tempo. And yeah, it's going to be sick. Come on out. Tickets available now. Go to danteelefante.com/tour and get all the tickets you need, or just go to danteelefante.com. And yeah, thanks for listening. Enjoy the episode. And we got a lot of episodes coming up. I got the day off today, so I think I'm going to edit those today. And I'm going to go watch The Machine, Bert Kreischer's The Machine. So that's kind of my Monday. And enjoy. Nice. Yeah, let's get into it. Thanks, everyone. You're listening to the Dante Elephante podcast. I'm here with Chicano Culture SB. People don't listen to the end of these things, so let's promote everything, socials at the top.
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Michael Montenegro. I'm here with Enrique, the owner and founder of Pueblo Cafe. What year did y'all start?
Yeah, 97.
And
December.
Y'all just turned 25 years?
We just did, yes.
It's beautiful.
25 years. And as a former employee and someone for the Cultura del Pueblo Cafe is the Chicano restaurant of the Santa Barbara area. It's like walking into a museum. It's full of art and decor, local artists, and also a great venue too. They've had Chicano Batman, La Santa Cecilia, Matamosca, Dante Elephante years back.
I played here, yeah.
When I was serving here.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, delicious food. Recommend the mole enchiladas. And anything else you want to share?
No, just, happy to be here. Glad to have you guys. And it's great. I really appreciate the acknowledgement.
Oh man, I love this place. Like, I first came here in high school with my friend, and his family was obsessed with it. And then I came inside, and I was like, "Wow, this is like not what I was expecting from like a strip mall in the middle of Patterson." There's so much flavor and culture. As soon as you get in, it's awesome. How did you end up in this shopping center?
My family has been here since the late 60s, and Dad worked a little bit in the agricultural sector, and then he moved on to working for one of the local seafood processors, primarily abalone. He processed abalone, during the 70s. There was for a few different companies, and then eventually he opened up his own processing company and processed abalone here locally. He'd buy it he'd buy abalone off of the divers who would go to the islands, and he'd pluck it off of the rocks and sell it. And but eventually, commercial fishery of abalone depleted the number of abalone to the point where the what was called the Fish and Game Department back then cut the fishery of abalone indefinitely. So Dad, was pretty much left, without business. He tried importing abalone from Baja, but there's nothing like a big California red abalone. It's a big shell, lots of meat. It's my family's really indebted to the abalone. Yeah, like for being able to have the resources to open a restaurant, since that didn't work out. So that was the beginning of the restaurant. Dad had I think he had a taqueria in mind, and he wasn't too familiar with the business. Neither was I, but he did end up with a heart attack like that first month or two, and I was in college at the time. I went to Santa Barbara High School, then I went on to Cal State Northridge, where I was studying math. Which by the way, that experience heavily influenced the restaurant later on, and, throughout the years. But that I took over the restaurant way back when, 25 years ago now, and kind of, I mean, I haven't been doing all the work. I mean, mom, dad, and my brother Alex, who passed away 3 years ago, he was heavily involved too, and this is the result, the Pueblo Cafe as it stands now, 25 years later. Yeah.
Wow. And would you say all the art in here was like slowly created over time?
It was. At the beginning, we had a lot of imported artwork, but then we were approached by a few local artists, say Charlie Dorado, Carlos Cuellar, and they wanted. They kind of were interested in having, some of their artwork displayed in here, and I'm like, wow, what a great idea! We could have just local artists, and it gets word spread, and now there's probably 24 different artists.
Wow.
Like I said, mostly some of them start locally and then they move away or whatnot. But life has its twists and turns, and people have to move away, especially in this town. How expensive it is to get by.
Gentrification.
Yeah.
There's many reasons for that, for people moving away. But they do leave the mark. These artists do, and we are happy to still have some of the artwork displayed.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
That's great. Well, what's some of the biggest things you've learned, running a small business in Santa Barbara or in this part of town? Like, this isn't like Santa Barbara. It's not Goleta. It's like
it's Noleta.
Noleta. Yes, the unincorporated area between Santa Barbara city limits and Goleta city limits, aka Noleta.
Watcha.
Yeah, it's been a trip because I grew up in the downtown Santa Barbara area, and I haven't spent so many years over here now. Sometimes I feel like I lost touch of with a lot of the things, a lot of the happenings out there at downtown or east side area where I grew up. But throughout the years we have done what we could, to be involved with events or cultural events at be it La Casa La Raza or even Ortega Park nowadays. It's been great. It's been great to be able to do that.
It's great. I love it, man. And it's cool because it's like we don't have a lot of places in Santa Barbara that you can throw a show that isn't Soho or like anything else, like a traditional venue. Like, so it's great that this exists for. It's just amazing
for the arts.
For the arts,
yeah. There's
not just music for both. Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's one thing I want to point out is that in my travels in like California, and just researching online, checking out different videos, there's always that one restaurant that's very like pro community, and like there's shows and fundraisers and all that, and there's a lot of Mexican restaurants in Santa Barbara area, but there's nothing like Del Pueblo Cafe.
Right.
So, thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, well, it's, a lot, like I said, the artists are the ones who made a big impression on customers, and they come back.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, no, I love it here. I think it's so cool. I love what you guys are doing. And like Michael just said, like the separating factor from this and any other Mexican restaurant is the vibe. It's the culture. It's the art. It's like, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun hosting. I lost count of how many bands.
Right.
But they've always been really happy and appreciative to be able to, a lot of these bands some of them are from LA or Ventura, but they appreciate being invited to come and play to Santa Barbara, because nobody's, had it not been for us, nobody would have invited them.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's kind of I like it because it's artists, musical artists who are trying to just do what they love and
Right.
share what they love in their creation, musically, and it's been great. And we've had a few bands that got big along
Right.
the way, and it's been cool just to see them when they're barely coming up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, La Santa Cecilia played here, who went on to win like a Grammy, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And Chicano Batman, and the list goes on. And yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, check them out on
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. I'd like to list a few of the other bands. If you ever, some of them are still together and still playing out and about. So, Very Be Careful, which is a Vallenato Cumbia band that's still active. Cuddy Flam, a band from the San Fernando Valley, they're still pretty
Shout out to Cuddy
active.
Flam.
What was known back then as The Commons, now known as
Tropa Magica.
Magica. Yeah, they
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
Those are my
that was a
buddies.
good
Yeah.
They did a few
Those
shows there.
fools.
Oh yeah, we should get them back.
Tell those fools to come.
Okay. I'm gonna hang out with them in Idaho in a few weeks. So
Oh, right on.
in
Yeah,
March.
man.
So I'll talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah, tell them Enrique from Del Pueblo says what's up.
Yeah.
We'll pay them in chili rellenos, all right?
Yes, yeah, and they're also connected to my job, Seymour Duncan. They're
Oh,
Seymour
yeah?
Duncan
Oh, yeah?
artists,
Oh,
so
really?
we could do something like that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing I regret not having some of these musicians come and take a tour of Seymour Duncan
Right.
on the corner. Like, wow, that was something
Totally.
that we can still do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, now that things are cooling down with COVID, we had like 2 artist tours today.
All
So
right.
it's like, yeah, people can come by.
Nice.
So y'all listening out there, people from Texas, from Colorado,
Yeah.
or some other part of the country,
Idaho,
this
yeah.
could be a possible venue when you're touring.
Yeah.
So,
How do people book a show here? Just
Usually, well, it all started. I just heard a story on the radio about how this guy in New York had a favorite band that just he didn't see out there as much, so he booked them at his spot, and they played at his spot, and that's where I kind of got the idea. And in the radio story, it did say that they appreciated it, and it helped them get exposure, and you get live music. So I think that's where I got the idea, and our first band again was Very Be Careful. Oh my goodness, maybe 16, 17 years ago now, I bet. Yeah.
Damn.
And throughout the years, a few other community members, including Michael here, helped in promoting and booking shows.
I had a chapter in my life that I organized some music shows.
Locally, Agua Santa.
Agua Santa, Sin Quince. I booked Mata Mosca. Just I think those here at the Pueblo Cafe. Yeah.
And then we had a few UCSB students, grad students or whatnot, that would come by and they connect and put shows together. Some of them, which included Quilombo Boca Floja, which is a Mexican rapper
From New York.
Mexico City,
Or Mexico City, my
Mexico
bad.
City. Las Bomberas del Bahia, which is like a musical, like percussion singing group from the Bay Area. And who else was there? We had Midnight Trio. I'm not sure. I don't think they're together anymore, but I do remember when they were playing here. The day after, they were going to go play at Dodger Stadium before the game.
You know what I also want to point out too, not to get too political and all that, but when it comes to social issues and for the better of the community, a lot of fundraisers went down here.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, talk about fundraisers.
Yeah.
Another local artist, Alas. I'm not sure if she's still active. Do you know Alas?
I think her music's still out there. We'll put a link there. She's a local rapper. She's feeding me.
Alas, and then there's the Dante.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there was one more. Oh, wait, Aslan Underground.
Underground, yeah.
They've actually played here
man.
also.
That's awesome.
You know, a little later on. So
Yeah, we loved our show when we played here. It was great. It was like, I think it was KCSB who reached out to us. They had like a label. I guess it might be active still. I don't really know, but I think we were one of the only releases on their label, and it was fun. It was such a cool show to have like us involved, and yeah, it was cool.
I just remember a few more bands. Mariachi Manchester.
Oh yeah, I was at that show.
That was a really.
I was at that show. That was cool.
That was a really, very, very packed house show.
Yeah.
And you know, we also had a norteño band because there was only certain shows that I've seen like really packed. That was one of them. And then there was one by a local band. They're not together anymore. They've gone. All the musicians have gone and done their own thing. But back then they were called is it R.A. Norteño? Now known as Los Anclas, but it's a totally different musician, except for the one vocalist, Ali Manzanar, I think is his name. Anyways, they threw a show here February. Was it February? I think it was November.
Yeah.
Sometime right before the pandemic. And it was a packed house.
Oh, wow.
And it was
No
a
way.
rainy day outside, and I could not let anybody else in safely. And there must have been like 40 people out there trying to get in. So, you know, we are a smaller venue, and
Yeah.
you know, but you know, I kind of like those smaller shows too.
Yeah,
It's less-
absolutely.
More stressful, more intimate.
Have you guys thrown a show since the
It's been a
lockdown?
while. Oh my goodness, I don't even remember when the last show was. It's probably the one you put together with Agua Santa.
Yeah.
A Huevo, I think it was called, during the fiesta.
Yeah, we did this coming back, like a community welcome back to Adriana La Artista. It was like welcome her back and just like have a local event, a music event, because that's one thing. And like, not to like transition to my background, but a big part in years back with like organizing my events was to provide cultural relevant shows. And there wasn't any culture relevant like shows going down in downtown. So me and some friends and other people were like, dude, let's organize some like oldies night with like Bad Bunny or reggaeton or whatever at certain venues, and Del Pueblo Cafe was one of the places. So providing cultural relevant music, you know, events, yeah, for la cultura.
Right.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah. Man. So people can reach out to you through Instagram if they want. Like someone who's hearing this right now, they can reach out through Instagram and book a show.
That's usually how.
Okay,
it works,
okay.
yeah.
Just to make it clear, just for anyone who's listening, a lot of musicians do listen to this show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Great. What's your favorite dish here?
Lately, the chipotle enchiladas.
They're bomb.
Carne asada enchiladas.
Yeah.
You know, in a chipotle sauce and lettuce, pico de gallo,
Oh, yeah.
sour cream, queso fresco on it. They're really good.
That's
Give
awesome.
those a try.
What's your favorite dish at Del Pueblo Cafe?
I've switched over to the taco bowl salad thing.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, because I can vegan it up.
Okay.
Like
okay.
if I don't want to eat dairy that day, I can make that happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I also love enchiladas. Raphael, who plays in Dante or used to play in Dante, whatever it is, he'll always be a part of Dante. My good friend. His wedding party was here. That was the last time I was here. He had his wedding party here, and it was really fun. Just to let that be known, if you are getting married, you can have your wedding party here
Yeah.
Yeah.
for private events.
The venue.
We're hyping it up.
Possibilities.
Yes, the possibilities are endless here at Del Pueblo Cafe. That's great, man. So like your love for art and music, like where did that come from?
I think it's I think it started with poetry. It was I was in 10th grade, and I wasn't really into reading, but my 10th grade teacher, she was a first year teacher in English at Santa Barbara High School. Must have been like 91 or 90. she introduced us to a poem, and it took me a while to think, why would she introduce us to this poem? The poem was I Am Joaquin. I Am Joaquin is known as the Chicano epic poem, you know, and that kind of just blew my mind when I first read it. I was like, wow. It was a condensed version of it, but it was I was just like blown away, you know. So I kind of, you know, started hanging out at La Casa La Raza, and, you know, saw the murals there, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, this is what that poem was about, and it kind of, you know, validated, you know, what I was feeling, you know, growing up as a, you know, first generation Mexican American, you know, parents from Guanajuato, both parents from Guanajuato, and, you know, I was born here in Goleta, 75. Yeah. That dating. Right? So yeah, 1975, here at the Goleta. It's funny how, you know, life made a full circle, and now
right now you're back
block away from that same hospital.
Yeah, we're throwing a lot of like references and phrases around. I guess for the listeners, like, what is Casa de la Raza? What is it to you, and what does it mean to the culture of Santa Barbara?
Well, you want me to start it off? Well,
Sure.
I will just say, you know, that La Casa de la Raza is a community institution. It belongs to the people. La Casa de la Raza literally translates the house of the people. And it's a historical landmark when it comes to the Chicana movement here in Santa Barbara. It was a place in downtown Santa Barbara, more close to the east side, where it housed a lot of programs for the Spanish-speaking people, undocumented, cultural programs, immigration services, fundraisers, and etc. And it just turned 50 years last year, I believe, and we're just really proud and fortunate to have this community space, and there was also very historical shows. You know, if you go on Instagram, highly recommend checking out Santa Barbara Babylon, and that page shows nothing but like Santa Barbara music scene from the 80s and like 70s and 90s, and like La Casa Raza was one of the places. I even wrote about it. As a writer, a historian writer, I wrote in my piece the 7 generations, the 7 eras of the East Side, and I gave a shout out to Tovar, the founder of Golden Voice. Golden Voice got his start here at KCSB, and then got his start at La Casa Raza as one of the venues, and now he's internationally known. So
yeah, they book all the shows at the Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, La Casa Raza has, you know, been a place for with resources for, you know, our people who, you know, kind of have difficulties knowing what resources are out there. So it's a good hub for that. And you know, of course, like I said, the show, like Mike said, a lot of the shows from the 70s, I mean, you got like tons of bands go through there, Los Lobos, and too many to name.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
seriously,
you'd be surprised how many people played at that venue. And yeah, beautiful place. Yeah, still is.
Yeah, it's still there. Check it out. And for folks who are from like the Mission, like I know that you guys have like the Mission District and like a cultural community center. And in Los Angeles, there's like Plaza de la Raza. There's self-help graphics. In Santana, there's El Centro. Well, you know, that's the thing about being Chicano and our different communities and different barrios of the Southwest. There's always these common characteristics. And in Santa Barbara, we have La Casa de la Raza. And when it comes to, you know, a restaurant that's for la cultura, we have Pueblo Cafe.
Right. Yeah. So that's how that kind of fits in, is that Del Pueblo does carry a lot of that energy that Casa de la Raza has, but brings it up here, up in Goleta.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, basically.
satellite
But
campus.
add more- yeah, it adds like the food to it.
You catered a lot of events, man.
Yeah, man. That's great. Sandbar Babylon, do you know who runs that account? How they have access to all those old flyers?
Okay,
like, there's some shows I'm like, wait, what?
What? No. Yeah.
Okay, so Sandbar Babylon, if you're watching this right now,
Show yourself.
I have an idea who you are.
Oh.
I have an idea who you are, but I'm gonna remain you anonymous because I respect privacy, but just know, next time I see you in town, I'm gonna be like, Sandbar Babylon.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. We'll keep them anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep you anonymous. I respect that. But thank you for your word. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't know happened. There's like a bunch of flyers from shows that happened at the Goleta Valley Community Center. Like all these punk bands that played there, like, you know, Henry Rollins and Black Flag and all these, you know, all these great bands. And I was just like looking, I was like, that happened here? Misfits played the Goleta Valley Community Center? Like, Tigers in the City played the Goleta Valley Community Center, my high school band, but it was like for a quince. We played my cousin's quince.
Yeah,
so
it counts.
That counts. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Freddie, what's his name? From La Bamba, you know, and that's how he got his start too. He did
Amazing.
birthdays.
Yeah. Yeah. So then let's go into a little bit of you, Michael, and the kind of work that you're doing, and a little bit of backstory behind us. That, you know, we went to junior high and high school together. We've known each other since we were 11 or 12 years old.
Before when puberty was kicking in, and when they made us run laps.
Oh
the
my
track.
God. Yeah.
The
track.
Yeah, that track when it just got installed.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Where's my tea though?
Tea?
Do you see my tea?
I don't
Let me
see
just
a
step
tea.
away real quick. Pardon me. This mango tea. All right. Well, yeah, let's go back. So our friendship, me and Dante, we've known each other since the La Cumbre middle school days.
When it was still middle school?
Yeah, middle school, meaning that it was 6th, 7th, and 8th. So now it's just junior high, 7th, and 8th. But yeah, we grew up with each other, and Oswaldo was part of the gang.
Shout out to Oswaldo.
And we were just hanging out and just being kids. And
Then we went to high school together for a little bit, and then you moved to Ventura County?
Yeah, I went to Ventura County. So that's the thing about Santa Barbara. In my experience as being the founder of like Chicano Culture SB, and just hearing everyone's stories about like why they love Santa Barbara, is that there's so many people who are from Santa Barbara and they got pushed out. Meaning whatever that can mean, as in like they sold their house, they sold the family a house, the apartments got too expensive, or their family's getting too big, you know, job promotions, moved to freaking Santa Maria, Oxnard, Arizona, you know, whatever.
Right.
Like life happens.
Right.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is Santa Barbara is a very special place where like the grandchildren talk about Santa Barbara. The grandchildren who are not even from Santa Barbara talk about how much their parents and their grandparents love Santa Barbara and how much they love visiting. So I forgot where I was going with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about archiving and being pushed out of Santa Barbara.
Yeah, okay,
and-
so that's my thing. Oh yeah, the pushing out, the gentrification, or whatever you would like to call it. My parents got a house in Ventura, and it was like, yo, wake up at 7:45 and walk to Buena High School, or wake up at 5:30 in the morning and commute to Santa Barbara, which I wasn't alone. I was doing that for a semester, and that's a very common story where a lot of people work in Santa Barbara as the hub, but they live in like Lompoc, the surrounding cities of Santa Barbara. So I moved out there, and Ventura I don't have no regrets. I'm going out there. Like, I love Ventura for what it is. My friends, different environment. But, my heart is always here in Santa Barbara. So, I moved away. I would come back to visit.
Where'd you go?
Well, I would visit, like, you guys.
No, I mean, but where'd you move away to?
I moved to Ventura. And
After Ventura?
Oh, from after Ventura, high school happened. And then I moved back to Santa Barbara. And that's where I took Chicano studies with Manuel Unzueta, who is like the legend, or we like to call him Profe Unzueta. And I took his class, and he changed my life. He helped me get rid of like this fish scales. I even wrote a poem called White Boy Chicano. And from that class moving forward, I was always been for the cultura. And I was just like, dude, our Santa Barbara cultura, our history is so rich and vibrant and unique, and especially when visiting different communities, aka different barrios. And like, I've always had positive experiences, but like, I saw their orgullo of their community, their pride of the community, and I was just like, that's cool. But my community has the same thing too. Mm-hmm. And also growing up, it was kind of whack. Like, their art was still cool, and events was cool, still cool, but I didn't really like seeing artists from different communities and like showcase cultura from their communities. And I was like, this isn't proper representation. Like, you're showing me your community from like Arizona or Chicago, like, of how it's properly installed, like in the exhibit. Like, yeah, it was cool, but it was just, I was still able to appreciate that. But what it pointed out to me was just like the need of representation. So that's where I started Chicano Culture SB.
What year did you start?
I started Chicano Culture SB about 8 years ago. I'm the same age as Dante, Ruben, so
it's fine. Everyone does it.
And during like when Facebook was popping off, and I used to run this page called Being Chicano, and I was like the only Chicano dude like running that page.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the other dudes were Latino, but they were like Puerto Rican, and they were from the East Coast, so they were more like recycling content,
memes,
yeah, exactly. And like, they didn't have this understanding of Chicanismo. And I love Boricuas, love to the Puerto Ricans out there, much love, but we're distinct. And we also have Chicano Boricuas out here too. Okay, that's the culture fusion right there.
Yeah.
But the point is, started Chicano Culture SB after doing that page, because I was like, dude, like, yeah, I was like getting the increase from like 30,000 to like over 300,000 likes, producing all this content, doing these vlogs and graphics and like engagements, but I was like, it wasn't mine.
Right. You didn't own it.
I didn't own it.
Yeah,
I didn't own it. And like, I learned a lot from that page, and like from the whole Being Latino network, like, cause they did like being Dominican, being Puerto Rican, being Chicano, being Hispanic, like all these other brand titles when it comes to cultural identity of a website or a page account. So I started my own stuff, and slowly by slowly just did my research. No one paid me. Like, For the love. I was just posting stories, posting videos, writing it.
But even like being Chicano, being Latino, being Hispanic, how do those pages make money? Do they? How does a meme page make money?
Well, from my understanding, it's all about like the right people to know, and how like, I don't know. Well, I can't really talk about this because it wasn't my business.
Right.
But from my understanding, it's like, you have this audience, you have this influence. You want to target this group of people, the Hispanic market. If you have a product or a service, like for example, you want to promote your nonprofit diabetes organization to help the Hispanic community, the Spanish-speaking community of your program. Well, that's where direct marketing, target marketing like that is like, well, let me...
So they become like an influencer and you can kind of pay them because they've already amassed this like group of users who are very specific.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Some more partnership deals. And that's when you guys got 25,000 Facebook likes. Okay. Yeah. We'll pay you X amount to post this. And okay. I see.
Yeah. And then like run it so many times a week.
Right.
Campaign. There's all these technicalities.
Right.
But again, for everyone out there, I don't make any money off this work.
Yes.
It's literally the only thing I get out of this is I'm the guy who runs it, and like these comments, these words of appreciation is what like gets me through and like keeps me golden.
Yeah.
True labor of love.
Yeah. Labor of love.
Yeah, that's how I kind of see this place as well.
Right.
It's not making anybody rich, but it's been it's all from the heart, man. It's all this. It's it's not it can't all be about money. It's
Right.
just about
So that's the thing when it comes to this thing called la cultura. It's not just this thing, but this idea of la cultura. And in Mexico, they have it. Like I have shout out to my homie Afonso from Mexico City, who does Chicano Sin Fronteras. When it comes to the arts, like for the people out there, like our country, United States, operates the arts very differently as compared to other country. Like how France and Mexico, Latin America, there's just more structure and support to be an artist, to think outside the box, to be a poet. And out here, it's like you're a starving artist, or you just happen to be born in this financially stable family. I don't want to give shout out to I don't want to
Shout out to the nepotism babies.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
No, but there's a lot of... Yeah, not all art is created equally, and some people get extra help where they don't have to have a job or they don't have to do this because they have some financial backing from parents, and it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's what it is.
100%.
Yeah. So, so that's where la cultura, where like you do it for the love. You don't do it for the money. You do it for the love, and it produces this presence, this occupation of space. And that's one thing about being Chicano too, of this flavor of cultura for over here. If you compare Mexico to over here, is that it's almost not it's a message of self-determination, of cultural resistance, of cultural existence, that we have this distinct flavor. We're a fusion of American, Mexican, all these other factors. So yeah, my only advice for people out there is like, do it for the love, do it for like your art, and try to do it smart. Take care of yourself, get grants, go to schools, do these programs. But if you do it for the money, I don't know.
You just gonna be disappointed when it doesn't show up.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be really upset and consider yourself a failure when you're not rich. And it's like no one's getting rich off this.
Yeah, I know. When I write these articles, like being paid like 50 cents a word, and like there's no money. I'm just happen to be that guy who wrote that article.
Right.
And there's no money in writing. I just write because it's that cultura existence.
Are you just writing for Chicano Culture SB, or are you writing for other people right now?
I've written for The Independent.
Which is for anyone who doesn't know, it's a weekly free magazine?
Paper.
I don't know if you want to call it a magazine.
The local indie paper.
Yeah. It's like LA Weekly, SF Weekly. It's like that. Okay, sorry, go on.
So I, shout out to them. Much love. Great writers, and what they're doing for Santa Barbara, being inclusive, all those different facets of what Santa Barbara is. So, yeah, I shout out to them, and I did a piece for I did a spread for Santa Barbara Magazine last year, and it was a big deal because to me that was like a milestone in my work. Shout out to Freddie, shout out to all the folks at Santa Barbara Magazine who I worked with, and it was really cool because I literally gave them this cultural experience of what the East Side is about. My spread was about the East Side of Santa Barbara, and I talk about Ortega Park as the heart of the community. I talk about the cyclists, the lowrider clubs, nightlife, the cultura. I did this spread for them, and also, as I'm also an artist, I create collages, and I did this collage called Chicano Culture, and as someone who was raised by strong women, and a lot I know is from Chicanas, badass women who held me accountable, who have checked me, who cared for me, who have heard for me, who's dropped knowledge on me, like bombs and this knowledge bombs on me, like. To me, that was just like, I'm going to create this collage and dedicate this to you ladies. And that's how I got my exposure, where they saw that, they saw my writing, and they're like, yo, you guys
would you be interested in doing something a little bigger for us? Oh, that's great.
And then I made a few phone calls, a lot of coordination.
Yeah, you made it happen.
Yeah, I coordinated over $3 million of fancy cars. Art on wheels.
Really? Yeah. So there was a car show?
Yeah, it was like a photo shoot, like a car photo shoot.
Cool.
So we did this photo shoot in front of Ortega Park is right next to Santa Barbara Junior High, near Santa Barbara High School, near the Boys and Girls Club. It's a very central location, and they had just 20 yards down, there's this big wall that is currently whitewashed. It's called Cinco de Mayo. Just call it Cinco de Mayo. And I like to call it the Cinco de Mayo mural of 1975. And the year that you were born.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, it's whitewash. You could actually visit there right now, and you could still see the remnants. You could see the plaque that says this is dedicated to the Chicano community of Santa Barbara.
So, Quarantina Street?
Yeah, on the corner right there. And next to the church, the baseball field.
Yeah. Okay.
So
wow, yeah.
Yes.
Black memories.
So that plaque, that's evidence of our cultura. So we did a photo shoot there, and it's really feeding, man. Check it out. The spread's right there online.
That's yeah. Go ahead. No, go.
It's funny because I just bring back memories of, how in high school we were rehabilitating that mural, touching it up, and now it's whitewashed. So it was a beautiful mural.
I actually have photos of that.
There you go.
I'll make a post about this soon, but
yeah, we should. I don't know. That'd be nice to
We'll
get
bring it
that
back.
refunded or something.
Something
might
like that.
happen there.
I'm going.
There or somewhere Ortega Park.
Yeah.
I heard things are going to change soon at Ortega Park.
What?
Want to talk about that?
We could talk about that. It's very local, but
Okay.
But I'm down.
Okay, Ortega Park. I don't really want to get into it, but
Get into it, man.
It's just it needs improvement.
Okay.
It is for the community. Of course, the social blight. I'm not dismissing that when it comes to, houseless folks, people doing drug use. It's for the kids. There's beer bottles.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing that, and but I'm not gonna dismiss how the city went about it, of taking out the benches, not providing certain services of the trash cans. Having the pool hours not accessible for the actual community. I'm not going to get into that very much because it's a little bit more complicated than that.
It's a deep subject.
Yeah, it's a deep subject.
Deep and complicated
and
subject.
Folks everyone's trying their best. But my biggest thing is just, hey, and I put this in my writing, Ortega Park is heart. It's a historical park, and there should be some kind of acknowledgement, acknowledgement of like, hey, this park needs to be respected for its historical, cultural significance. And I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's been a long battle, and there's progress being made. Check out Ortega Park SB on Instagram. Follow them. I support them and everyone involved with Youth Brigade. But there is this mural, this whitewash mural right next to Ortega Park, and I'm gonna work for that. I think that's a lot more accessible.
And it's so silly, like the way that the Santa Barbara government has like worked on its houseless problem is like, we'll just remove the ability for them to sit down. Like there's nowhere to sit down on State Street anymore because they're like, okay, they're taking up every bench, guys. Let's just remove the benches. It's like that. It's just so backwards. Like it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and that's where me and my work. That's why I identify more as like a historian, because in my years of activism, a lot of people are like, "What are you fighting for? Why are you so passionate about this?" And I'm like, "Well, this is my community, and you guys are trying to like whitewash it. You're trying to displace us. You think our community is just blight. You have this misunderstanding, and a lot of times it's just like ignorance,
right?
And majority of it is ignorance, and demonizing the youth and etc. So that's where, hey, I need to be like a historian. I need to educate people and let them know that, like, hey, this is our culture.
Yeah, being a resource.
Yeah, being a resource. We're three-dimensional, where there isn't this monolithic, profile of what it means to be Chicano or Chicana, but education.
Yeah, and being a multimedia resource where you can talk about the culture, but let me show you it.
Yeah.
Let me show you the videos. Let me show you the pictures, like, especially whatever we can find, because it's so hard, there's very few child photos of me because we just didn't have a camera. Like, there's no videos of me as a kid. It's just that stuff. I don't know. And this was only the early 90s. I was born 1990. Like, and we don't have that stuff. I can only imagine how inaccessible cameras and video equipment was through the 70s and 80s. And yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing when it comes to the idea of Santa Barbara, is that Santa Barbara is a beautiful place. It's world renowned. And but at the same time, there's just all these different groups of people here that were coexisting. And for me, like, I just want there to be justice when it comes to like proper inclusivity. And it sucks that there's not that much documentation on us. And the stuff that I do find, it's like gems or super feed me.
Totally. And you can go to the Santa Barbara, museum. What's the one that's on De La Guerra? It's got a bunch of history on Santa Barbara from that perspective, through that lens. Yeah. But then we're not really represented in that museum that much either.
So that's just to break it down. That's like one of my presentations. I call it is Santa Barbara history from a Chicano perspective. Right. And I'm glad that you use this terminology, Ruben, because there's just so many ways to tell a story.
Right.
Telling a story in music, telling a story in poetry, telling a story in your government, document, welcoming people on your website, whatever. So I tell my work from a Chicano perspective where, I guess what I'm trying to say is
we're not really getting shown. So you feel like you need to do that. And other people, lots of people.
Yeah,
but like,
I'm not the only one.
Not the only one. You're not the only one. But you are here talking to us on this show, so we will refer to you as that in that way. But like, we are left out of that conversation a lot.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was doing my friend's podcast, and they're like, oh yeah, so what's Santa Barbara like? Are there any Mexicans there? I was like, dude, there's so many Mexicans there.
We're half the population. We're the majority.
I was like, dude, I was looking at like my 4th grade photo at Adams Elementary, and like I was showing my girlfriend. I was like, oh, there's me. She's like, there's only other one white kid in the class. I was like, yeah, I know that. But I like when I was a kid, I didn't really notice. Yeah, there was one white kid in our class, like, and it was like that. And then you go to La Cumbre, which is also was heavily Mexican, and same thing. I just didn't think of it. Like, oh yeah, we go to the Mexican schools and La Colina's the white school, like,
Yeah, what's up with that? Like they eat
that is a little weird too.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
like it's like they eat tortillas, I eat tortillas. We're the same people.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Santa Barbara. How you doing in time?
Yeah,
I'm good.
You're good. You're hanging?
Yeah.
We're glad we can have you, man. I didn't know you were gonna sit down, but I'm stoked that you're here to talk about Del Pueblo. Talk about.
I'm telling you a few other memories. Just
so
I remember a few other bands that played here.
okay.
So many. El Haru Kuroi.
Okay.
Another LA band. They're really good. El Haru Kuroi. Catch them. They're still performing. The Altons. The Altons.
Shout out to the Altons.
Here. Selena Moss. It's a Selena cover band. Did a show here. Really great. That was a really good show. Cherry Wine. That's Amy Winehouse cover band.
I love that.
Those are really fun to host. Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's I just wanted to share a quote that just came to mind. I think it was Chuck D. When he was asked how he felt about Eminem, and hip hop, and it was totally unexpected. Chuck said, culture, culture is culture. It's meant to be shared. So he didn't have any beef with
True.
Being a hip hop star,
Or
especially because he seems to be a person that respects and acknowledges that it's a the foundations of hip hop are it's a black music,
right?
Yeah, so, anyway.
But yeah, no, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's where, like, when it comes to what does it mean to be Chicano, Chicana, and all these different abbreviations, like Chicana, the classic way with CH, and it ends with an O or A, or it's spelled with an X, and it ends with an X, so you pronounce it as like Chicanex. And then there's like Latinx and Hispanic, and there's all these identities. Yeah, we're all human at the end of the day, but when it comes to this group of people in the world who are in the millions, who have contributed to society in science, the arts, academics, government, etc. And these are the people who identify with this cultural idea of Chicano, Chicana. So yes, there's like two definitions. There's one, Chicana, Chicana means that it's someone of Mexican heritage, born in the United States. And that's like the more general sense. And the second one is a more of a mindset of being historical conscious. It's that's where it gets more of the self-determination, the roots of the Chicano movement. But at the same time, Chicano has been used for over a century. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's all these stories of origin of like where was like the first Chicano publication ever used, the earliest documentation. There's some people that think it's associated to the Chichimeca people of like Jalisco, how they were like fighting against like the mestizo Spaniards. When it was Nueva España, they were fighting against the Chichimeca people. So they were just generalizing everyone from the north. They're like, oh, they're Chicanos. Down here, we're Mexicanos because we're Mexica. Mm. So there's that story. But yeah, I'm not going to really go into it, but it's just this identity, this title identity that we choose. Okay? We choose this. You could lump some people in it, use it to describe their art, but it's a very inclusive culture. Over here it says we are a living culture, and we're evolving, we're fusing. There's all these layers.
Yeah. Well, I see it kind of as in line with what you were saying. It's like a social political stance, a mentality, a common definition you see is a Mexican, American of Mexican descent. And, it's something that can be broadened out a little more, given that it's a social political stance. It recognizes our history here in this country, our struggle, and our future. And again, it's something that you identify with. You can't just assign it to a Mexican American sitting over there. Okay, he may not have the same mentality as a Chicano. So I've in college I met Puerto Ricans that were as Chicano as they come. They were like down as Chicanos, and they knew the history, they knew the struggle, and to this day they're still out there, putting in work. It's I always think about this other quote by this musician by the name of Chavela Vargas. You ever heard of Chavela Vargas? She's a musician. Look her up. She was born in Costa Rica, but her fame came when she grew up in Mexico, and and when people would ask her, hey, but you were born in Costa Rica, like how are you getting famous? And her answer to that was, nosotros los mexicanos nacemos donde se nos da la chingada gana. So she basically said, we Mexicans are born wherever the hell we want.
Right.
It's just because that goes to show, how she identified, with her, new culture as a Mexican. And it kind of also, it's cool because it kind of erases all of that Central American borders, because Mexicans, Central Americans, we're very similar.
Yeah.
Guatemaltecos, so we have like a lot in common, aside from language. History and
and that's the thing when it comes to Chicano. It's inclusive. It's not dismissing people. You could be a Salvadorian, you could be Guatemalan, you could be Colombian, you could be from Spain, you could be Puerto Rico, you could be Black, African, freaking from Eastern Europe. If you grew up in a Chicano environment, if you were that token white boy, if you were the only
Miklo?
the only Miklo, that's a real thing. Or the only Asian fool, you grew up in a Chicano environment. When it comes to cultural social conditioning, I always point this out, is that there are people who are Mexican American or Americans of Mexican heritage living in Minnesota, Arkansas, Oklahoma, where they are the tokens, they are the minorities, in a real sense of minority, because even though we're called minority out here, we ain't the minority.
That's true. In California,
we became the dominant in 2013. But the point is, this person who lives in this environment, in this setting where it's not Chicano, they weren't raised, so to say, in la cultura. They weren't raised, they don't know the experience of what it means to grow up in the barrio with having high socks, burritos and 3 hours away from the border. That's why, you could be white, Asian, Black, and at the same time be Chicano.
Right.
As
long as you embrace that culture and you pay respects and you're just immersed into it, and you've chosen it. It's like a chosen thing.
And most importantly, just acknowledge the struggle,
right,
and privilege that you may have.
Chicano privilege.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to be Chicano.
Well, that's one thing when it comes to. I'm glad that we're transitioning to this spot, to this area, because there's this term I call cultural licensing. And some people grew up very hard, school of hard knocks. Some other people happen to live in a very privileged life because their parents and their grandparents fought really hard to give them a better life, you know. But just where I'm going with this cultural licensing is like, yeah, if it's your culture, make your content, monetize, I guess. Like, I'm trying to monetize my work, but I don't. There's just this weird wall where it's like, I don't want to make money off this. But when it comes to like, what gives you the right to tell these stories? What gives you the right to use this imagery? Did you actually grow up with that abuelita experience? Did you actually grew up, you know, in a single home family, one family in one room? Did you actually grow up with in and out of the prison industrial complex, or your family was affected by it? You know, are you just glorifying violence, or are you humanizing our urban culture reality?
Yeah,
and that's where it's like that's the paintbrush, that's the cultural licensing.
Right.
So, and I don't want to be a gatekeeper where it's like, who's Chicana or Chicana? Like I don't want to define that. Like in some ways, in certain guidelines, it's really freaking obvious. Like Ruben's Chicano as fuck. When it comes to when I see other artists from other country, or how our culture is portrayed, or these like meme accounts are like run by bots, or like people from like, they're trying to monetize.
No,
this,
yeah,
you know
same
what
thing. Yeah, I'm gonna build what we were just talking about, like building a meme account on Instagram so I can eventually use it for leverage it for branding and making money off deals.
Oh my gosh,
that kind of thing. Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
there's so many people.
Who is little Mr. E?
Yeah,
Who is he?
okay, there's just so many people who out there.
Shout out to Food's Gone Wild, man.
Like, yeah, shout out Fool's Gone Wild. Woo! So yeah, that's the thing that's cringe, and that's why it's really important to support your artists, support your artisans. Like, are you actually like? Or I'll give you an example. I had this homie from Spain, from the east part, Barcelona, that part. Give a shout out. I'll send you the link. He gave me the love of like, because he got injured, and I bought him like this care package of local Chicano merch, and he was like, "Oh man, like you got me like authentic Chicano merchandise," and that's why in this day of age of international like free market internet, like being from Santa Barbara, like we have this like this privilege of being like, yeah, dude, this is original Santa Barbara art. This is original Santa Barbara Chicano art. This is original Chicano music. This is how it looks like in Santa Barbara. It's very distinct from Santa Ana and very distinct from San Francisco. And there's people out there who can see that. And so, yeah, I just want to give a shout out in that way.
Right. And even like, this is a conversation I had with one of the bands we were opening for last year. Like they're also super into disco and soul and funk, and even then, but they're from the East Coast. And he was like, it's crazy. It's like, we'll get paired on a show together because we're both soul and disco, but like your type of soul and disco is very West Coast. That sound is very you guys. We do something very different over there. And it's great. He's like, it's awesome because everyone just lumps disco and R&B as this one thing. But yeah, I am focusing very much on the music that DJ Wicked used to play. Like
DJ Wicked up in the mix.
Like I credit that man because, you know, and my dad and my mom for driving around listening to his mixes, and we listen to those songs over and over
again. Shout out
to
DJ Mambo. Shout out to DJ Little Wicked. Shout out to all the folks out there in the radio station. Much love.
Absolutely.
I was on their show. I was like last year.
That's awesome.
Much love.
Hey, I used to listen to KCSB in junior high, hip hop show. The DJs were Alan, AC Juice, and RNG. And they were playing hip hop when hip hop was like just barely starting.
Before NWA?
It was before NWA.
Oh,
it was before Ice-T came out with the... Yeah, actually, it was around the time I think Ice-T came out with his first album. But they were playing like the early New York stuff.
Wow.
Like as soon as they came out in the mid 80s. that was. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to KCSB, man.
Yeah, been listening since junior high.
Yeah, KCSB is for anyone who knows, it's the college radio station here. It's community radio, which is, I'm finding out, more and more unique. You go to other colleges and they're just for college students, and that's what makes KCSB so unique. Is that community radio? Anyone can be a DJ.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so it's like, I think, like, talking about, since we touched on like DJ Wicked and kind of Chicano art, like the other kind of artists that have come out of Santa Barbara, like most recently, like someone like Sad Boy Loco, who people would recognize. Who else from the top of your head? Because we were just talking about this off camera, but let's bring it on camera.
Yeah. I would say, no, there's a lot of artists when it comes to our hip hop scene, who are doing it up. Much love to all those folks out there, but like the biggest one is Sad Boy Loco, and he's representing worldwide. He's traveling across the country, internationally. He's on that World Star hip hop point. He's on that doing shows for Fools Gone Wild, and
he's loud about his being from Santa Barbara, which is and
that's the thing. His music is actually, it's like he keeps it G, but also there's substance. There's substance in his music where it's like he does it for the cultura and he's representing. And I'm really proud that he is from Santa Barbara, and
he and I went to the same gym and we'd go at the same exact time.
and
we used to work out next to each other. And I always wanted to say something to him, but I didn't know who he was. And then Oswaldo, he's like, yo, you see Sad Boy Loco? He's from Santa Barbara. I was like, dude, that's the guy from the YMCA. What the hell?
Young Men's Christian Association.
Yeah, I was like, he goes there like at 2 when I go, like randomly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the community.
That's great, man. Yeah, and then even the history of Santa Barbara. We were talking about Ernie and the Emperors, the first band, Chicano band from Santa Barbara to be signed. The first band in general to be signed to a major label, becoming the backing band at Earl Warren Showgrounds, and backing bands like the Isley Brothers and whoever came through. If they needed a band, they'd call Ernie and the Emperors. They have a song called Meet Me in the Corner, and the corner is like right next to San Marcos High, and like they still live in that same house. It's crazy. It's insane. There's only one of them left, and it's the drummer, and really cool.
In the 80s, maybe 90s, there was a band, you said Los Rasos?
Yeah, Los Rasos.
Los Rasos. I haven't heard them.
Another one, Los Bárbaros de Santa Barbara, came from Santa Barbara. I think they may have been one-hit wonders, but they were popular during their days. I'm not sure if this one's local, but I have a hunch that they are. Lalo y sus Descalzos, I think they're local, but I don't remember like what area.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are like 3 bands, Mexican music, regional Mexican music from like the late 80s, early 90s that made it pretty big.
And I heard that was like the peak time to be a band in Santa Barbara. Like there was a lot of places to play. Just from what I've heard, is that the 80s and 90s were a crazy time to be in a band. And
venues, I remember. Well, I had an older uncle older cousin who played in a band locally, Los Gentiles and Grupo Magia.
Oh, I heard of them.
It was the 80s. They play, some place called Sierras on State Street. It's not there anymore. So it was a venue. Las Conchas on
Haley.
Shout out to Las Conchas.
Las Conchas.
It was things were a little bit different back then. I remember.
Yeah.
I think they may have even played Mission Theater, which is now the Fiesta 4 theater.
The Metro 4.
The Metro 4 theater, yeah.
That's great.
I have videos of that theater where they used to do breakdancing competition. What's that 80s movie? Breakin'. When Breakin' popped off in the country, it inspired all the youth, and it inspired our own local youth, and we had local youth dance and compete. And I have videos of their competition, and it's super freaking cool. It's the time capsule of back in the day.
Dude, how do you acquire some of that footage? Like, how does that
footage?
Yeah, let's get into that, because I'm always curious. Like, how'd you get that?
How do I get this? All right, remember, this is a labor of love. So I'm just a geek when it comes to anything Santa Barbara Chicano related. It has to be from Carpinteria to Goleta. that's my region, or that's my area of like anything produced. I got it, or I try to collect it as a when it comes to my memorabilia. I have this book called Corridos y Canciones de Aztlán. It's the music book. I have the record too. I uploaded like half the record online on YouTube already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on Instagram too. This was produced at La Casa Raza. Corridos are essentially polka ballads.
Cool.
That's
that's probably the best way to.
Corridos. Then there's other stuff like these books called like Pasos. It talks about the history of Ortega Park, the murals. Some of the murals they're not there, located there anymore. This was produced in 1980. Come on. This is, I mentioned Profe Manuel Unzueta. I was one of his students, and this is the exact textbook that I used. And he written and published it himself, as approved in an academic setting. But all this is him. And so I like to collect stuff like that. Here's a book called Aliso School for Carpas, aka Carpinteria, when back in the day when they had segregated schools. And here's one here called Chicanos in a Changing Society. And this one is like my Bible, so to say, when it comes to my work, and it focuses a lot on Santa Barbara. It's like majority Santa Barbara. It focuses on other different barrio towns of Southern California, but this one, focuses on how Santa Barbara went from 1848 to 1930, and it's well detailed, sourced, and it was produced back in the 1970s. And to me, this is how I got my start. I was just like, whoa, I could just like read this and like publish photos and like get a little experts, and like I could share a photo when there used to be a baseball team, an all Mexican baseball team in the 1920s in Santa Barbara. So
how'd you find that book?
When I went to college.
Oh, really? It was one of the books in the class.
Yeah, and that's the thing about being Chicano. You could get a PhD in Chicano studies. That's where I got it. And there's another thing about growing up in Santa Barbara, like I know a lot of families, I know a lot of people, and a lot of times when I share these photos, it's an intimate thing where I have their permission. I have to get their blessings. When someone's loved one passed away, a lot of times, depending on their stance and how the person died, they want privacy. They don't want no one to post their photos of their their dad, despite him being a legend. That's the type of like technicalities that I have to navigate, get these people's blessings.
The consent.
Yeah, their consent. And yes, it's consent, but it is really blessings. It's like, how are you going to use this photo? Are you making money off my grandpa? I was like, no, dude, I'm doing this for the culture. Like, no one pays me.
Right. Just to remember. Yeah. Okay. So you got that one from school, and then these other books.
Yeah.
Just kind of found them around.
Online research.
And what about the videos and all that?
YouTube.
Is that also reaching out to people, being like, hey?
Yeah. There's a lot of cool people who, were in these dancing competitions, like the dancing competition from the 80s. He was fortunate enough his family saved the tape. He actually took the time to digitize it and upload it. So it's all these rare gems of like, man, this person took the time.
Yeah.
So that's why when it comes to content creation and content mining and content, sharing and so on, like you got to ask for permission too. You better at least give source, like, oh, this image was originally from so-and-so account or so-and-so website, tag them and so on. So that, I think that's where a lot of my work comes from. It's just like asking individual people. Again, I grew up with these people. I grew up in the community, in the barrio. Like, I was raised by the community, so like I know these families. They're like, oh yeah, you're Michael. You know, you're my daughter told me about you and showed me this full photo of me and my wife, and I just want to say thank you. And you know, it's those type of things. So I just want to make people feel proud and be proud of Santa Barbara.
Yeah, so people are kind of reaching out to you now.
Yeah,
because then people know you're the person. Like, oh, I got this video. You know, you might be interested in seeing something.
Yeah,
like this.
It's really cool to get.
Yeah. To be at that point now where people are coming to you.
Yeah, it is pretty cool to have community members be like, hey man, I thought I found this video. I thought you would find it interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like I do.
Yeah, I do.
I actually need that kind of. Send me more. Do you have more? Like, yeah, that's great, man. Well, I love the work that you've been doing and both of you have been doing, and it's just so important to kind of like keep the community, like keep highlighting the community outside of Santa Barbara, and hopefully we get some more eyes. And anyone who's traveling to Santa Barbara to come to Del Pueblo, and anyone go to your Instagram if they're just curious, because there's a lot of people who do. They come to Santa Barbara, like, oh my god, I love it here. It's like, well, if you love it so much, here's more. Here's like, wow, this is how we got here.
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing about
the city was built.
Yeah, and like we made this city.
Yeah. Right.
We made this city.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
We built this city on Chicanos. With raza, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Acknowledge our Chumash brothers.
Yeah. That's nothing. Glad you brought that up.
The most probably.
This is Chumash land. They are still here. They're my friends, and I think that's one part in my work. You know, I'm not Chumash, but I make it known to my fellow Native brothers and sisters and people out there that like, hey, be proud of your indigenous roots, be proud of your ancestors, but don't forget, this is Chumash land.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And when you walk around, I think there are a few great examples that Santa Barbara has done to like remember. It's like these street names are named for a reason. Anapamu, there's like that little sign giving the education of the name Anapamu, what it means. And you know, with the crazy flooding that happened a few weeks ago, it was like, oh yeah, this is I don't want to. Okay, I live in that area and we weren't flooded because we are on that hill, and Anapamu, that hill of Anapamu was like, yeah, it was important to the Chumash people. There's a whole history behind just that street, that area.
Yeah. We have Hoot Street, the street Hootash, where we used to have this street called Indio Muerto, which translated to dead Indian, and through community support and organizing and the Chumash folks, the Barbariano tribe, spearheading it, they got it renamed. And they renamed it from Indio Muerto to Hootash, which is of the local Chumash language, and it means Mother Earth. Anapamu, which is like the holy mountain. There's Siutun. Siutun is one of the villages here. There is Kakike. He was a chief, a Chumash chief, and there's, I believe, a few more Chumash street names, but don't confuse Modoc as Chumash, because the Modoc Indians and Modoc natives, indigenous people, are more Northern California. So, but yeah, that's a cool thing about Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
There's more than just State Street or just downtown. Right. We got the east side. We got the historic east side. We got the historic west side. Yeah. These distinct neighborhoods. Each street has a historical significance. Each neighborhood has different trees, different species of trees, and there's more. Santa Barbara's just more than State Street.
I think that was probably one of the greatest things that was, in my recent history, getting that name changed, because that's the kind of thing you like protest about, or the activism about, and then you never see it happen, and it actually happened.
You were part of the generation where they renamed Sas Si Puedes. We have this street in Santa Barbara called Sas Si Puedes, which translates "get out if you can," and in the 90s, I actually have the newspaper clipping, late 90s or early 2000s, I need to check my source again, they renamed half of South Cipuela Street to Cesar Chavez Street, Calle Cesar Chavez Street, from La Casa de la Raza to all the way to the beach. So this street, I always say this with bragging. There's the street name Cesar Chavez Street is found all over the country. It's literally found all over the country, from Chicago, Texas, Colorado, etc. To pay respect, and even there's streets called Dolores Huerta too. But the point is, they renamed it to Cesar Chavez Street because Cesar Chavez, who is known for the United Farm Workers Movement, the UFW with Dolores Huerta, he was involved. We were involved. Our community was involved. Again, that's where, when it comes to the Chicano movement, the farm workers movement, the anti-Vietnam movement, we were all in that. Chicano moratorium in the East LA, when you see all those, youth marching down with berets, and then later getting tear gassed, where Ruben Salazar, the journalist of LA Times, got murdered. We were there. We were there. We had a youth brigade because we had our own brown berets. We were there, and I have a post of this. There's footage. Every time you see a youth brown beret,
they're from Santa Barbara.
They're from Santa Barbara. The ones with the black berets, they're from the east. They're from like a different part of Los Angeles, but it's a fact.
Wow,
that's us.
That's wild, man. Speaking of Cesar Chavez and realizing like the kind of differences, like they talked about that La Cumbra. They had like a whole day. That didn't happen everywhere, and I didn't realize that didn't happen everywhere. Even in Santa Barbara, like La Colina didn't they didn't celebrate the day, and it was just different for them. And I don't know why, but I also am very proud. And I was like, oh, good. I went to the school that promoted that.
Were you part of that when they renamed it?
I was around, and I know it was heavily organized there by the gente at La Casa de la Raza. Thank you guys. Yeah, of course.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a thing, inside of our Santa Barbara culture, our community. All of these defining characteristics. There's clear markers of we're here, we're vibrant, we're distinct. We have our beautiful murals, our historical buildings, our distinct neighborhoods. That's Santa Barbara, and I guess we're all examples of that.
Absolutely, I love it. Nice. Well, we're getting pretty close to when the dance crew's coming. Oh, got about like 20 minutes.
Let's take a pause.
Yeah, no, or we could just,
I got pissed.
Oh, you got pissed? Oh, okay. Then we'll take a pause.
I'm gonna I need to drink some more.
Okay.
I mean, you're welcome to take some shots of the place.
Yeah, I might do that. I do have another idea. Like, my buddy's a great cinematographer, and I would love to just do a profile. We've been talking about doing it for a few different restaurants, but I'll have to hit you up. Maybe we could do like a profile and maybe talk more history and get like nicer cameras and.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, every piece in here has a history.
Yeah,
it's a lot going on.
That's awesome. Sure. Yeah, it'd be great to do something like that just to kind of promote it and have some great content.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anything here that stands out to you in particular? Maybe I can give you a few words about.
I don't know. I like all of it's just so striking, and I think I really like that one.
The Joyeria.
Yeah, was that a place in Santa Barbara?
No, it might have been.
Yeah.
It's actually by a lady by the name Bonnie Beatles.
Okay.
She worked for the county education office for many years, and it's it's a joyeria, which means jewelry store, and right behind it they have funeraria, which means funerary.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got the two words joy and fun.
Oh, that's hilarious.
In there. Huh? Yeah, go for it. And then the two little sculptures in front, well, those are imported from Mexico.
Really?
Those are the other Muertos themed.
Oh, I love it.
And then the two duckies, they're by an artist out of Oxnard. Yeah, she kind of.
That's amazing.
She signed them on the bottom. I don't remember her name just off the top of my head, but like that, a lot of the art, that's the history of a lot of the artwork here. It gets dropped off, and it's here. We give it a home.
I love it, man. Do you guys have any events coming up? Or do you guys normally do like a Dia de los Muertos event? Like what kind of stuff do you guys do in that way?
For the most part, we just lately we've been really we've been helpful at the Dia de los Muertos event at Ortega Park.
Okay.
That's kind of where most of our energy comes up.
Yeah,
But it's a you know, it was interesting to see like the phenomenon of Dia de los Muertos go from, you know, Oaxaca to or just Mexico, southern Mexico to Boyle Heights, where South Fall Graphics, you know, it was kind of like the springboard for Dia de los Muertos throughout the Southwest region. Now it's a national thing.
Yeah,
you know, and it's nice to see people, you know, acknowledging or just remembering their ancestors or, you know, family members that passed on.
Totally.
Using customs that you know, people have been that were influenced by Dia de los Muertos in Oaxaca, you know, Michoacan, the southern part of Mexico. And like I said, culture is meant to be shared.
Yeah.
Except not for those beer companies. Get your Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
And that, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's the commercialization of
Yeah, it's yeah.
Where do we put the movie Coco? Where do we put that? Where does that go? Because they did such a great job at it, but it still is Disney. It still is.
You know, and they had, you know, good consultants,
right?
And
the songwriters were Mexican.
Yeah.
And,
Lalo Alcaraz, he's very knowledgeable, and he's very involved in the producing of that movie.
Yeah. Then we actually had one of our local professors, UCSB, University of Santa Barbara, which is like 6 miles away from here. Mm-hmm. We had one of our local professors there consult for Wakanda Forever. So that's another example of that.
That's right. Yeah. I had my first impression of the movie was kind of weird. I was like, wow, there's so much black and brown people pitted against each other, but they're actually not brown; they're blue. So it was like black and blue people. I made a joke of it only because, you know, it's a comic, you know, it's one of those movies. So you had to step back and, you know, okay, this is not for real. You know, you gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of, you know, violence between them, but it's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, and
it's Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's where the commercialization of how do we respond to movies like to Coco, to Book of Life, to shows to like
Encanto,
the shows like gentrification, like gentrification of East LA by Chicanos, or more of the Latino degree of Mexican Americans, and like cultural relevant productions, you know, from behind the camera and in front of the camera. So I'll just say this. I think it's a huge progress. I was super proud to see Mesoamerican, you know, of course it's more predominantly Mayan, futurism on the big screen. I think that's a huge accomplishment when it comes to native culture, cultura. There was never like that before. Like, I saw Tenoch as a freaking action figure. You know how cool that was?
I know. Yeah.
So like.
Yeah, great actor.
Yeah.
Catch his earlier film too.
Yeah. And
Güeros and a few other ones.
Narcos. Yeah, he's in Narcos. But so I guess I'll just say things have gone a lot better. Yeah. Better content, more inclusivity done right. But
especially compared to like the 90s Disney movies where it was like Aladdin, and now Aladdin is like mixing a bunch of you know, North African mixing. It's like mixing all these cultures. Like it's like Saudi Arabia. It's like what this is like. We at least got something that was a little bit more thoughtful than Aladdin, which ultimately pushed stereotypes even further.
Yeah,
which is just so fucked up. Like,
and that's one thing too. Like we also have to be like thoughtful of that. Where it's like I always tell my friends, I'm like, I just like to use Mesoamerican because that happens to us too when it comes to our culture. Where like there's this idea of like, oh, all you guys are like Aztec, right? They're like, no, there's like Aztec, Mayans, there's gente from Oaxaca and like Zapotecs, Mixtecos, and etc. So like when it comes to productions, of course you got to do like a hodgepodge of like making it work of a region, but other times like you got to keep it very local, very distinct. If you're able to make a cultural distinction between Scottish, Wales,
Ireland.
Irish, hey, shout out to the Irish. Like
shout to Canelo.
Shout out to Canelo. He's one of ours, but that's the bridge.
It's the mix. That's the mix.
It's the fusion.
Yep.
You know, so. Yeah, it's just the consideration, the intention, and awareness. I'm like, dude, totally. Like we're diverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great, man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can start wrapping this up, man. Is there anything else you guys want to promote? Anything else you guys want to say? Anything we didn't touch on?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Ruben, for doing this podcast, taking the time to interview me and Enrique. I'm looking forward to the episode and for your future music too.
Working on it, man. Working on it.
Keep the cultura going.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, no, it's great. Like, I just let you guys talk. I think it's fun. I think there's a lot of value here. There's a lot of knowledge here, and a lot of love here. I love this place, and I love both of you, and this is great. It's really great to, make this happen. Yeah, hell yeah.